Hello, Sam from Sound on Sound magazine here. I'm at the Superbooth show in Berlin. One of the buzz products of this year's show has been the Nina Polysynth from Melbourne Instruments. I'm very pleased to be joined by Ian from Melbourne Instruments to tell us all about it. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. Well, this is our first product, the Nina. We've kind of started at the top with a big development effort and a flagship synth for us. And Nina is first of all, this is a 12 voice analog polyphonic synth with fully discrete circuitry that we designed ourselves in house. And but then, of course, the great cool thing about it is the fact that all the knobs, the whole control panel is motorized.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty unique feature. So we'll come to that in a minute. But I want to talk about the discrete circuitry aspect of this first, because I guess most of the polysynths we currently see on the market probably use off-the-shelf chips, like the Curtis chips, for example. But you don't, and you've actually designed your own circuits from the ground up.
Well, you know, the thing is that if you design them yourself, particularly, there's a couple of advantages. The first of all, you can tailor the sound exactly the way you want it. You know, when the transistors are all discretely laid out on the board, you can control the rising edges, the falling edges, and you can get the timbre. You can really shape it the way you'd like to, and then the Moog ladder filter kind of is discrete anyway, so that's an easy one. And then the other thing as well is that we could control the power consumption, so that we could get 12 voices in a unit without having fans, which is really important for an audio instrument. And so the combination of flexibility and the ability to do it, and then because of the pandemic, we had quite a lot of long time to do design work, we're really pleased with the way it is. And of course, you're very nervous. You get the thing out and you hope people like it after all that. And but the reception's been really positive, so we're really happy.
Yeah, so about those motorized controls, obviously we've seen a lot of synths over the years that have had endless encoders with like halos around them. But these actually sort of physically jump to the place where the control value that they represent. But there's also more to it than that, because you have the power to control the feel of the controls under the hand.
These motors are quite amazing because they came from the drone technology evolution, and they're very small, incredibly powerful, and they're brushless, so that they can be super smooth. It's just magnetic field pushing. So you can do these tricks of making it feel like there's a detent in a certain position, and then and an end stop in another position, because it's just a magnet fighting you and stopping you turning it. But then you can change a tuning knob, for example, when it's doing fine tune. It's just a detent at the zero position, and then it's smooth all the way around. But then coarse tune is an octave select, so then you have it like a 5-position switch for -1, -2, +1 or +2 octaves. So you get this sort of nice connection between the feel of it and what it's doing, and then of course they're like a real knob. They're very high resolution. You can do a tiny adjustment. You can hear exactly the sound you want, and you don't have to look at an LED ring. It's very precise, and I think. The reason that these synthesizers still have all those knobs and they haven't just all gone to just LED rings is because there's always a compromise. They're just not as nice to use. And so this kind of solves all of those problems at the same time and makes them, back to the function you want and.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing that these controls can become step switches, or they can be kind of continuous, or they can be anything you like.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the synth architecture then. Is it a sort of classic analog architecture?
It's a classic analog architecture with two analog VCOs, mixer section, the Moog ladder filter, and designed by Bob Moog, and then output VCA. We have a few tricks with it. Our custom design VCA can do it's like a through zero or can do an anti-phase signal, so we can create a very interesting stereo wide effect at the back end of the VCA. And then the other thing as well is that the front end has a digital source, so that's a wavetable. So you can inject wavetables into the front of the mix with the analog oscillators, and create some very interesting sounds with that.
And do you also have some multi-timbral capability?
Yes, and so the 12 voices can be split into up to 4 layers. So you can have 4 different sounds, 4 different kind of synths going on. And the lovely thing about the motorized controls then is, of course, that as you jump between the layers, all of the controls jump to represent that synth's parameters. So you can easily navigate around, work on that sound, jump over to the other sound, work on that. And yeah, it really opens it up and makes it useful.
Incredible. So, how soon is this going to be available to buy?
Well, it's actually available now
Oh, right.
already. Yep, we had some back orders from the second half of last year that we just filled, and then yeah, we've been selling in the US for a month or two, and pretty well. Now we're sort of launching at Superbooth into the European market.
And do you have a price for the European market?
Yes, it's £35.99 plus the local tax in euro, and £3,100 in the UK plus VAT.
Incredible.
So,
Well,
yeah.
well, thanks, Ian. I'm hoping we can see it in action now.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Also, here's the basic layout. You've got the two VCOs and the wavetable, and then the VCOs you can actually control the width and the blend between the square and the triangle separately, which is a nice thing about our custom VCO. And then you set the levels of the three oscillators in. Plus, there's a fourth input, which can either be noise or it can actually be the line-ins, or it can be a feedback loop from the output. Goes into the filter with a nice overdrive circuit, an envelope for the filter, an envelope for the output, and then we have stereo digital effects as well, if you like, reverb, chorus, and delay. So, but of course, the main thing is, first of all, is when you jump between the presets that are stored, the whole panel is changing to exactly that preset's settings. So you can instantly go from where it is and adjust the sound, jump to another sound, and that's your basic motorized control panel. When you go to modulation mode, then you're setting up the modulation matrix. As you notice, all the controls jump to kind of 12 o'clock, and that's basically. And along the bottom here, you've got the modulation sources. So if you want to go from the LFO, if you want the LFO to affect the tuning on oscillator 1, then that sets the amount there that the LFO is affecting the tuning. And then if I look at how the keyboard tracking maps to the tuning and so on, you can see instantly jump between each source and see how much it's going to affect each one of these as a destination. So you've got to sort of complete anything to anything modulation matrix. It almost works like a bunch of virtual patch cables in how you set it up. And then the other nice thing is, of course, the ability to morph between two sounds. You can see that as you turn the morph knob, it's actually morphing all of the control settings between the two different sounds continuously. And that's a really nice thing for exploring new sounds and yes, patch design and for live performance too. And then the final kind of key feature is just the multi-timbral, how when you go into a layer, so I'll load a multi-timbral setup, and when you're in the layer, you can quickly jump between each of the 4 layers with 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, and you'll see how that each synth then becomes instantly accessible on that first layer.